is an entire secret life to the journey of a musical theater song that no one ever gets to see. The version of a song that gets presented to an audience or is published and licensed is not the same version that the song started as. It took many, many years and many iterations to come to that final version. This behind-the-scenes process is where the musical theater meat gets ground up for the sausages. That felt very Sweeney Todd. Let's take an in-depth look at what the secret life can look like through the journey of a song from its first draft to its final draft. We cannot look at this process without first acknowledging something very important. Failure is a requirement, and failure is awesome. Without it, nothing amazing ever gets made. And today's song journey is filled with plenty of failure. Today we are going to look at the character establishment song for Henry in The King's Legacy, a song that has probably the clearest and longest journey of any song in the show. For those of you who don't know, I started The King's Legacy back in 2012. It is the story of Anne Boleyn from her arrival at the English court, all the way through becoming the Queen of England, the second Queen of King Henry VIII, all the way through giving birth to her daughter Elizabeth, who becomes Queen Elizabeth I later on, and all the way to, spoiler alert, her death by beheading. We also follow the journey of Elizabeth as she grows up without her mother, but with her mother's guidance from beyond the grave, if you will, and through the guidance of her other stepmothers, the other four queens of Henry VIII. Now this is a show that talks about and centers the journeys of the women, but there's always been a problem with this show, and that is Henry. We all know Henry, we know King Henry VIII. We may not know a lot about him, but you probably know that he was fat at the end of his life, he had a lot of wives, and he killed some of them. But the big problem here for Anne Boleyn's storyline is that Henry is both her love interest and then later on the antagonist of the entire piece. And because he's the king, his actions often drive the plot forward, which is so annoying. What can we do about Henry? This was the Henry problem, and why it took me many, many years to find the right structure for this show to make sure that our protagonist, Anne Boleyn, was the one driving our story forward and not the guy who happened to wear the crown. Well, that being said, his character establishment song has been something that's been a pain in my tush for many years. In 2013, when I finished the score, I had the opportunity to present a reading of this show later that summer of 2013, less than a year than I started writing the thing to begin with, at the Random Access Theater's reading series. Now, at the time, the first song in the show was Henry's character establishment song, and that was a fact that remained for too long in this process. But this song at that time was actually the title song. It was called The King's Legacy. Now, for all of these iterations of the song, it is the first time that we're going to hear from Henry directly after the incident in the opening number. In the opening, there's a festival for Henry for his birthday, at the end of which he drunkenly decides to engage in a joust, and he falls off his horse and is injured along the way, almost dying in the process. So this song is the first time that we hear from him after having almost died. In these versions, he will be conferring in someone. In the original version, it was Charles Brandon, his best friend. Later on, it becomes Cardinal Wolsey. That matters less. It's more about the music and the lyrics, so let's dive into the first version of this song. Henry is angry, and he's in his bedchamber, and his leg has a large open wound that is being tended to, and so we get kind of a very angry sound here. He sings, "I could have died today, Charles. Don't you understand? I was unseated." Charles says something, I don't remember what. "How can I rest? My life was in the balance, and now I can never rest, not until my lineage is secure. A daughter, not a son, that's all my wife could bear. If I'd have been undone, I'd have left no heir. Today I vow to make secure my legacy. I swear I won't allow my line to end, I guarantee. I shall raise a star on high, all shall bend a knee and cry, a king to reign, all kings is nigh, Charles. I could have died today, but you didn't. It could have happened, I shall not delay. I'll pray for a son, I shall send up a prayer on this cursed day. terrible vowel sound to end on, Michael. Yikes. I haven't sung that song in years. And that was the first version called The King's Legacy. Now, we can clearly see a few problems here. Number one is, hey, what is song structure and where is it? It's not the worst, it's not the most meandery of all the songs in this version of the show. It actually felt one of the most song-like, but is there a structure? Mm-mm. Is there a hook? Mm-mm. Oops. Now, to be fair to me, I had not yet gone through the BMI Musical Theater Writing Workshop, and there was still not a lot of information on the internet about how to do this thing back at the time. Therefore, I can't blame myself too much for the lack of structure, the meandering, and the lack of a hook. Also, it feels very derivative in terms of its crunchy chords. It felt like, Michael's trying to be edgy right now, but also like all this staccato nonsense, just quarter note, staccato chords. It felt very much of the time of musical theater when I was writing it. It wasn't doing anything new or interesting. I'm not sure it said too much. Now the chord progression itself is pretty fun and interesting, in my opinion. So this whole back and forth definitely gives a sense of some sort of movement, which is good. I think that part is good. Then we have our descending pattern. Hand is really just doing that crunchy, 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 not doing too much else. Then we change our key. Thank God, because that first key had 6 flats. Michael, what were you thinking, darling? Now once we shift the key here to this, I'd have left no heir. Today I vow to make secure my legacy. I swear I won't allow my line to end, I guarantee. Going into that crunchy major chord right there so we can come up and land on our G minor yet again. There's something about that that actually like moves the story forward a little bit more. The first part of the song definitely feels like it's verse material, and then like, oh, we're getting to it, right? Today I vow to make secure my legacy. But if that's what the song's about, then why aren't we just talking about that the whole time, Michael? Why not? One thing I will give this song though is I think the movement into 6/8 is a lot of fun. Obviously his voice jumps up quite a bit, maybe too much for the range of the song, for the ending, for that horrible last word I set up there, the word heir. What was I thinking? I don't know. The heir is the legacy, I guess is what I was thinking, but this ba da 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 bam ba 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 da da. Throwing that F sharp up there is a lot of fun. Ba 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 da 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 da. Again with the F sharp. I don't know why I'm saying it on the octave. Charles. The crunching is actually quite nice, so I will grant that. Then what? Charles Brandon actually sings one line? Why? Michael, he interjected in words before. Why is he singing one line? What am I doing? I could have died today. Why was that not the first thing that he says is I could have died today? Oh wait, it is the first thing he says. He sings, I could have died today, Charles. So why are we repeating ourselves? And only for Charles Brandon to come in? Michael, I could have died today, but you didn't. It could have happened. So this version of the song, fine. It's okay. It's not doing much. What are we doing in this song? I had to figure that out. So this gets rewritten. And version 2 of the show came shortly after version 1 of the show. We did the reading in July of 2013 through the Random Access Theater, and I'm very grateful for that reading, even though way too many people who I know and care about came to see that terrible version. But it did kick my butt into gear to get some rewrites done. In particular, I was doing some rewrites for a festival that was happening in March of 2014, the Emerging Arts Theater Festival. I had submitted to that festival on a whim, late in the deadline process, and they were like, yes, we have a slot, how about the end of March? Which was 6 weeks away. So, plotting that out, I had about 3 weeks to rewrite half the score. I was kind of aiming for 2/3 of the score, but got half done. And The other 3 weeks was putting the show together, actual rehearsal, and getting ready for the festival. Yikes, friends, this was tough. But one of the songs that got rewritten was indeed Henry's character establishment song, because this didn't cut it. And here's the thing about it not cutting it. That's failure. But if I hadn't failed, I wouldn't have learned what I needed to learn about Henry and his establishment song. In fact, I learned so much that I came to understand I had to throw out all of what I had and start afresh. And I'm glad I did. And I think you'll be glad too. So now we move on to the Emerging Artists Theater Festival version of this song, which is now called A Legacy. Okay, that's something different, and it's in a different key, it's got a completely different feel. In fact, Henry, at this point, even though it's the first time we hear him sing, following his accent, he's not in the middle of the throes of anger about it. I needed him to do something more than just be angry all the time. And so I decided, you know what? What I should do is definitely not have him be so angry about the fact that he almost died and left the world potentially in war again. And he's gonna be a dreamer instead. Okay, so here's the new version of the song. Completely and utterly different. I see palaces, I see conquered land, I see treasures here, Charles, can you see? A man is given but one chance, a chance to build upon his name. 7 other Henrys came before me, each one of his fame. His legacy, a man is made of flesh and bone, the bones of those who came before. Mortal men are easy to extinguish, but you can't ignore a legacy. I did not die, I am here with a second chance, and I avow here and now I will advance. A man can build beyond his stars, the stars that shine upon his world, or his deeds, sorry. I avow to beautify the country, I avow to conquer land for England, I avow to multiply my coffers, I avow to leave behind an heir. Yes, I avow to leave behind a legacy. Okay, that's new, that's different. That's a completely and utterly different feel, isn't it? Top to bottom. So here's something that I will say right away for this piece. It is at least, coming closer to what we need in a lot of different ways. Number 1, we have a hook. Our hook is a legacy. Okay, that says something to us. We also have a motif in our A sections because this feels closer to a 32 bar form. Now, Michael, younger Michael, you had learned about the 32 bar form. You had gone through 3/4 of an auditing year in the BMI Musical Theater Writing Workshop. At this point, you knew 32 bar chorus, and yet you didn't write one. You came close, though. So I do have A sections here. We have this motif of, or I guess, yeah. A man, this jump, always a 5th jump on a man, right? A man is given but one chance, a man is made of flesh and bone, and later on, a man can build beyond his stars. And that one is not a jump up, but a jump from above instead. A man. So we have a thing that's a little more consistent. This has a feel that is not very angry. It also has a feel that is potentially not as emotion-filled as I was going for at the time. In fact, it's got a goal to it, legacy. But again, the song meanders in a lot of different ways. I mean, we start with this verse. Palaces, conquered land, treasures here. What does that mean? Charles, can you see? So he's a dreamer. This show isn't about him. Why is he the dreamer? I have so many questions. A man's given but one chance, a chance to build upon his name. 7 English Henrys came before me, each one of with his fame, a legacy. Okay, decent writing here, but what are we actually doing? He's talking about the idea of death and legacy, but what is the legacy? We don't really get far enough to know what's up before we hit this section. And he says, I didn't die, I'm here with a second chance, and I vow here and now I will advance. What does it mean to advance? A man can build beyond his stars, a star that shines upon his deeds. Oh, so the things he's gonna do? That's the legacy? Like, beautify the country, conquer lands for England, multiply our coffers. Oh yeah, I'll leave behind an heir as well. The show's about how Henry ends up marrying Anne Boleyn. Well, the show's about Anne Boleyn, but this idea that Henry needs a son is what drives him the whole time, and he didn't get one with his first wife. He got a daughter, and he got a lot of stillbirths and child death. So he needs a son, and if that's his driving force, why am I not hitting on that the entire time? Not to mention, this long extension here at the end feels like it's, once again, kind of meandering, only because it comes directly after this thing, which is pretty, but again, we never really got a full course unto itself, so I don't know that we have earned an extension of this size yet. So at the end of the day, we're closer. We're much closer, but this isn't quite it. I had to get back to the drawing board, because this didn't land for people. They liked it, it was pleasant, but it didn't land, which meant, once again, my friends, I failed. But from failure, we learn. This time, in going back to the process, there at least was good stuff in that previous version that I knew I could keep and that I liked a lot, but there was a whole bunch of stuff that needed to change. First of all, he's injured. This is right after the festival, therefore that anger piece does need to be there. He is driven by a fear of death in this moment, so that somehow had to find its way back in. We couldn't feel too chill, too relaxed. Secondly, the legacy piece has to be all about getting a son. And we need to know the reason behind why that's important. Yes, we've been given some historical context on this already in the show, but there's got to be a personal reason why this is important. So we bring in something new as we fill in a first 32-bar chorus before we move on to that longer interlude and our extension on the ending. This new version was created for the 2016 industry reading, my first industry reading that fall, and honestly, it's changed very, very little since. It's almost precisely the same version that was for 2016. Because once you find it, friends, you find it, and it's great. So to finish the journey of this song, here is the final version of a song now called simply Legacy. A man is made of flesh and bone, the bones of those who came before. Mortal men are easy to extinguish, but you can't ignore a legacy. A man is given but one chance, the chance to build upon his name. 7 other Henrys came before me, each one of his fame, his legacy. Father took this kingdom with his hands. When all seemed lost, Henry Tudor won. He gave to me these peaceful, thriving lands. But damn it all, now I need a son. A man can choose to be a fool abandoning all care. I cannot continue to be reckless, or I will despair. My legacy. There's a little dialogue here that I'm gonna skip. I did not die. I am here with a second chance. And I vow here and now we will advance. A man can build beyond his stars to give his son and heir the world. No more will I squander all my riches. No more will I risk my life for nothing. No more will I settle for a daughter. I I won't have a son to be my heir. Yes, I avow, my son will be my legacy. Now, this version of the song has an actual 32-bar chorus right at the front of it, and we start with the main idea first, the main thing looming over him, which is death. Right? There's no verse material. He's angry. He says he's feeling weak and pitiful. We have this stripped down vamp. It's got energy to it, but not necessarily forward momentum. It has that kind of a halting quality to it. Halting and haunting. And we start with the idea of a man is made of flesh and bone, the bones of those who came before. So we're talking about ancestral lineage as well as death. Mortal men are easy to extinguish, but you can't ignore. A legacy. Because that lives on, right? Okay, we are hitting right on theme. Huzzah! A man is given but one chance, the chance to build upon his name. 7 other Henrys, right? We are othering now. Came before me, each one of his fame, his legacy. Not a legacy, his legacy. Our B section, which is brand new, where we take our feeling of what kind of feels like a crunchy version of A-flat major, and we're going to A-flat minor now. My father took this kingdom with his hands. Okay, got some daddy issues. When all seemed lost, Henry Tudor won. Henry Tudor. Isn't that his name? Oh, that was Dad's name too? I see what we're doing. There's legacy, just even built directly into the name thing. We're hammering home the name thing. He gave to me these peaceful, thriving lands. But damn it all, now I need a son. So, Dad did all the hard work, and I've got it good. But I have one job, and I need to accomplish that thing, and I've got to do it now. Legacy. Leading us to a final A section. A man can choose to be a fool. Now we're getting the full running thing in the right hand. So there's actual musical development in this version of the song, which I think it builds on the excitement, right? We had that halting version of the A. Our second A had a little more, but a little halting still. Now on this return, we have an extra octave in the left, and we have the full running pattern, because we're building momentum, right? Michael, you got smarter, kiddo. Proud of you. And we have a man can choose to be a fool abandoning all care. I cannot continue to be reckless, or I will despair my legacy. A recognition that his own actions have been his undoing up until now. Ooh, is this man gonna grow throughout this piece and learn to take responsibility? Probs not, it's King Henry VIII. But, is this that leads us into the dialogue where Cardinal Wolsey, not Charles Brandon anymore, Cardinal Wolsey is like, hey, but you got a daughter, and people like her, and people like your wife, so like, hey, it's not as bad as you think it is. And he's like, but it is, because, boy, Henry. Always great on the misogyny. Then we have that interlude section. The I did not die, which is mostly intact from that second version. A couple things change here, not a lot. Number 1 is after with a second chance, we do a registration shift and add an extra octave in the left hand now. And I avow, leaving space for the voice to grow and build in the center of the keyboard, which is interesting and fun on the ear. That's good musical development, yay for me. And then also, this gives that sense of like dreaming up here, like something's a-coming, something's building. And now we say, we will advance. So he's saying, not only is it about him wanting the sun, but we want the sun. Yes, yes, everyone's on board with me. All this leading back to that final return, which is now not an A that gets extended, it is an extended A. We are just returning to a final A, but this one is the big build ending. And we have something similar to what we had the first time around, but we're gonna keep it all about boy. We need boy, right? Because boy. A man can build beyond his stars to give his son and heir the world. Crystal clear, right? No more will I squander all my riches. Okay, that's that first thing we were talking about, because Dad gave us all the good stuff. No more will I risk my life for nothing. That's that other piece about, hey, I've been maybe a little dumb. Perhaps. Not gonna admit too much. No more will I settle for a daughter. That's the thing that Woolsey brought up in the dialogue, right? What are we gonna do instead? I will have a son to be my heir. Ha! Crystal clear, my friends. Yes, I avow my son will be my legacy. And then we hold that with a buzz. And that, my friends, is the version of this song that exists today in The King's Legacy, doing all the work we needed to do and further doubling down on all of the baggage Henry has and how that culminates in a single-minded goal, which is why he is both the love interest and the antagonist for Anne Boleyn. Failure of the first version led me to the second, and that was a great step forward. But the failure of the second is what let me dig in and do the hard work and get to this version here, the one that finally worked. Failure is not a bad thing, my friends. It is brilliant, it is useful, it's wonderful, we love failure. Please, go fail. But if you want to see how failure across the entire journey of this show led me to my eventual first production of the show, then you should watch this video next. Otherwise, thank you all for being here with me today, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers!